Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Showbie from me, the old Vobester, in the studio. Alone tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on my lonesome, but never mind all that nonsense. I'm here to give you a good thrashing. Of course. That is what I aspire to, anyway. Welcome along on a Friday, the 1st, isn't it? 21st of February. My goodness, where is this world going to? And am I right in thinking there are 29 days. It's a leap year, isn't it? Excuse me, I seem to have swallowed a frog. Maybe I shot one down from my Spitfire, who knows. Yes, it's a leap year, I think, because on the 29th of February this year, we have a walk in St. Leonard's Forest. If you want to come along on the Bold Explorer thingammy-jiggammy what's it, should be great fun, I'm hoping, at least. That's the very least that I'm hoping. Let's just move this microphone just in one fraction, a little bit more bonk. There we go, that's much better. I feel now more at home. Has that got the Vobes hanging out in the right direction? More or less. There we go. Lovely, and it's fantastic to see you. Thank you for coming along. Let's find out who's there. Ernie Samet is out there. Hello, Samet. How you doing? Tally-ho, old chap. Played the opening music just for you. The lovely Julia is out there. Andy Dalgleaf. Dave Cuss. Nice to see you, sir. Mark Donny McLeod. And Judith, good evening. Anne Osborne. Laura Riddle, hello to you, Laura. Hope you're doing well. Andy Freeson, evening all, he says. Andy's popping over to see me soon, which would be nice. We can have a nice cup of char. I've got my cup of char all lined up over here. Look, here we are. This is on the char cam. Oh, the char cam's not doing very well at the moment. There we go. Char cam, working just about. What ho, Richard? Receiving you loud and clear from Wanstead, East London. Jolly good. Coming into land now. Chocks away, and all that kind of stuff. Early start caught me out, says Steve Pilfold. Where in Sussex? Well, you know, I like to keep people. I was sitting here just waiting, thinking, do you know what? I'll get cracking. I think I might as well get cracking. People will turn up as and when they want to, which would be nice. So that's all right. Myriad Genealogy is here. Les Jarvis. Hello to you, Les Jarvis. Nice to see you. Andy Stacey, Ed Loud, Andy Dalgleish. Hello, Dickie Vobes. Nice to see you, Andy. He says, I know you season your wood well, but what do you think of the government's proposals to ban coal and wet wood? Well, we may well talk about that because I don't know if you listen to the Naked Englishman podcast. If you're a patron of mine and support what I do and prop me up when I'm falling over, then you often get the new dude, which is an audio file about the diary of my life, and it's sometimes it's quite dull and boring, and other times I'm having a bit of a rant, ladies and gentlemen, having a bit of a rant. And I did go off on one somewhat this morning when I heard the news. There was I steadily making a nice cup of coffee, very relaxed, as you can imagine, first in the morning, slippers on, dressing gown on, my smoking cap there, pipe sticking out of my face, you know. I'd got my shag all organised and I had lit the stuff and it was just puffing away very nicely. And I'd got my morning whiskey on the side and brandy from last night. And I was just sort of nestling a nice cup of coffee. And the BBC Home Service was broadcasting. It was London calling, London calling. Oh, no, wait a minute, that wasn't it. This is the BBC Home Service. And and here is the news. And they spoke to me. They spoke directly to me. The BBC would now like to announce that the government has changed its policy and is banning all wood whatsoever and coal and any kind of mucky fuel you can think of. Don't even imagine that you could nip outside and dig up a bit of peat and stick it on your fire. Oh, no, sir, you can't do anything unless you get our government-approved logs, which has been passed by the management and fished out of a horrible, nasty sump pond somewhere near you, then I'm afraid you're going to be locked up in chains and thrust against the wall. Thought, blimey, that's a bit rich. So yes, I spilt my coffee this morning and spluttered out, and I reached immediately for my crystal microphone. This is the Naked Englishman here reporting. I have just heard... Yes, and of course, unfortunately, that caused a slight chaos and consternation. Poor old Kevin Hall. Hello, Richard. Kevin Hall. Peeling myself off the floor here. Yes, he heard me bellowing down the microphone, very upset about what is happening. So we'll talk about that maybe in a moment. Audrey Forbes. Hello to you, Audrey Forbes. YSA4. Hello. Leslie Couch, Andy Freeson, Lyndon Hughes, and Fiona Cooper. Lovely Julia says, it's silly. No one wants to burn wet and unseasoned wood because it doesn't burn well and smokes you out. That's absolutely true. You wouldn't want to burn it in your wood-burning stove. It takes forever to get heat, and it won't heat you up, which is the whole bonky bit of it. Andrew Norris is in. I'd just like to let you know that the Andrew Norris has sent in another Andrew Norris moment, which is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And Andrew, you did make me soil myself. But we won't be playing it in tonight's show. Andrew has specially requested that we have it on Wednesday. So it's going to be on Wednesday, but I have downloaded it, and it's a hoot. So something to look forward to, the Andrew Norris moment appearing on Wednesday at an internet screen near you. So nice to see him. Jeff Kellison is there. Do you guys have pellet stoves in the UK? No idea what a pellet stove is. Is that a stove that you shoot pellets at once it's no longer working, and you get out there with the old potato gun and go... Do you remember the potato gun? That was quite fun, wasn't it? I mean, I know people do things like BB guns, don't they? And they go paintballing and all of that nonsense. But I think wars would have been much more entertaining if we had potato guns. If that was the only ammunition. Somehow that someone would say, look, okay, we understand that wars have to be fought because one side wants to bully the other side and this, that and the other. But we'll just make it a rule that when you have a war, the only ammunition you're allowed to use is the humble potato. So obviously a potato would be a grenade. So you'd have a King Edward, you'd pull out, I don't know, the eye of the King Edward, and if it bounces on your head, you have to lie down for at least 5 days. That's fair, isn't it? Because it would be assumed that in that time you've been taken to hospital and been patched up. That makes perfect sense. The only bullets, of course, are those potato spud gun things. That would be a much fairer system, and I think Sir Walter Raleigh would be very proud. So there we go. So I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff, about pellet guns. That does sound a bit weird. Wendy Laurie says, good evening, Richard. Hope you're well. Yes, very well. Thank you very much. So far, I've managed to dodge the coronavirus. I've seen it buzzing about with its hawk eye going looking for me. But at the moment, I have managed to avoid it. I'm going to get one of those great big fly swats, I think, and carry it. I mean, people are going to have in masks and all that, but I understand that doesn't actually stop the virus. The virus is very quick at adapting, and now it's got little claws that can pull the mask down like that and fly straight in. They're also adapting that they can undo ribbons. So reef knots are probably the best thing to tie at the back, but ribbons, if you've got a ribbon, it can take about, 30 or 40 of these in sort of synchronized flying, and the bugs can actually pull and undo the ribbon, which means, the mask drops off and goes straight in. Whereas if you follow my advice and make a windmill out of those fly swats, you could have that fixed to your forehead with a small motor that's run obviously on solar panels, and you'd have the solar panels adapted to your ears, and then it would just permanently whiz round like that, knocking all the virus for six. It was a great idea. I've patented it. It cost me an absolute fortune, ladies and gentlemen. I've spent all the patrons' money on patenting my idea. But that, is part of the wackiness that makes me such a lovable, bald-headed character that I am. Wendy says, Julia says, the issue I find is with sellers delivering just such woods instead of seasoning properly. Cheeky whatnots. Yes, this is the issue that I've often had, is you get a delivery of wood and it's sopping wet. It's not seasoned, it's still green. And, I suppose really what you should be doing, if you can afford to do it, is you buy the wood 6 to 8 months in advance, you rack it all up, and then you get it seasoned before you actually burn it. But half the thing is if you could buy your own tree, cut the tree down, cart it home, chop it all up, store it in the garden, it would be a much cheaper fuel than having to pay for other people to go and chop the tree down, chop it all up and store it. You see, that's what half of what the expense is. You're paying for other people to do it. And if you want the kiln dried wood, you're paying a premium for someone to stick it in a large shed and just blast it with heat. You're paying for all of that. And all that kiln drying, well, that must be using some sort of heat mechanism, which presumably is electricity, which presumably is also adding to the carbon footprint. I bet they never thought of that, did they? You're not going to tell me that they're using solar panelled or what's the water trough thing, whatever that is, the water system, or the wind powered heater. I bet they don't do that. I bet they just plug themselves into the mains. So it's a sort of double whammy. If you buy kiln dried logs, you're better off drying them outside, which is costing you nothing. That would be my opinion. Mark Donny McLeod says wood pellets, Richards, they are made like rabbit food. In the supermarket, which is at the back of my house, I can't mention you the name because you'll all know who it is, but they selling coffee. They have about this long it is, and there's like a big log, coffee logs, old, I don't know what it is, bits of old coffee beans or something that are being compressed. And you do imagine that must be sad for the workers who are making these coffee pellet logs, which are supposed to, about £6 they cost for about 3 or 4 of them. And I just can't help it, the workers are sitting in the corner drinking coffee as fast as they can so that they can use the used coffee grinds and put them into log format. But, you're not going to waste the coffee, are you? So the poor staff, and there's only 3 of them, they're as high as kites, but they can't sleep at all. So they sit at night rewriting the works of Shakespeare. Apparently that's what it. If only they could get an infinite number of monkeys, they could write something, like a Bible, probably. Anyway, Andrew Norris says, yes, Julia, I like kitty litter, Mark. Yeah, I guess you could probably burn kitty litter. That would be here, kitty, kitty. That's what you could burn. Ed Loud says, King Edward, I've been promoted. Yes, that's true. Sorry, Ed. You have been promoted, but we have to poke your eye out before we throw you. That's the only side issue on that one. Jeff says they burn wood pellets, no smoke, cheap to run, and they operate off a thermostat. What? Oh, a pellet, a wood pellet. I don't want a thermostat. I mean, the whole thing about the wood-burning stove is that the craft. It takes years to learn the craft, how big the wood's got to be, how much chopping it down, going outside with the axe, getting all that lovely back-breaking exercise that makes your spine snap every time and your wrists crack. When you do all that humping the wood in, stacking it up, getting all the dust all over the floor, seeing there's lots of strange little insects crawling over the wood that you daren't put into the fire in case they die in a horrible agonising burnt death. And then there's the horrible slugs that you pull off slowly and lob them at the wall to see if they stick on the wall like spaghetti, only this time you don't eat them, because if you get the two confused, it makes the meal taste a little bit unreasonable. I like the whole process. It's like the smoking of a pipe. You see, men need these little routines. You mean in the old days when you were allowed to smoke a pipe, you'd get the tin, you'd take the tin out and unwrap the paper on the tin, and there would be this tobacco, and you'd get the tobacco a little bit in your hand like that. You'd have the bowl of your pipe, and you'd start packing it in like this. You pack it right down, push it down with your thumb. Out comes the pocket, a little tamper, which you would tamp it down, tamp till you get it to the right consistency. Then out comes the old matches, the Swanvestas or whatever it is. You light that, and there's the smoke of that, which breaks the atmosphere. It looks fantastic on film, especially if you backlight it. And then into the pipe, you put it into your mouth, and you puff, puff, a little bit here, puff, and the whole thing glows this beautiful, lovely red, and then this huge amount of aromatic smoke starts to sort of fill the atmosphere, and on a still day or a still night, with a bit of side lighting, you feel like you've just disappeared in this great cloud of thought, and there you are. Suddenly you emerge through it, and as you emerge, the wind, the eddies in the wind make that wonderful coloured smoke just swirl a little bit, and there you are, you've vanished off to do something else in another room somewhere, leaving everybody who's been with you with the stench of the smoke all around them. But that's what that's when I went to first job at a printing firm. Old Roger Fairweather used to come in with his pipe, with his gold block, and he would get that alight and smoke it up. And then I would be at the print machine slaving away as a young man of 15. And he would come in and he would talk to me and see how everything's going. And then he'd be enveloped in this smoke, and then he did the disappearing act where he vanished and just this swirling mist was left, and I'm coughing and spluttering with my hands covered in MEK, which is some sort of chemical, and some sort of bromide finish from making the plates, with the window, tiny little slit in the window, and the powerful smells of the ink going all over me, feeling very queasy, and the poor old brain turning to a yellow ooze coming out of the ears. And that's what it was like. But men like those routines. Same with the chopping of the wood. You know, it's like going out there and moaning and groaning and grunting first thing in the morning on a cold morning, seeing your breath out there, the light streaming down through the tree, if you've got a tree, if you haven't burnt it, and then chopping the logs up and standing up there, feeling your spine not quite straight. Oh, God, all that bending over and filling up a wheelbarrow or a bucket and then stacking it. The whole thing. Men like routines, you see. You can't, it's no fun. If now, at least in the old days you could have one of these things to switch the television over. I mean, you used to be able to get up and twiddle the knob, didn't you? But now you've got one of these. You can just do that. But, of course, now you don't even need to do that. You just say to it, Alexa, turn the television off. And things like that. I mustn't say, Alexa, switch off the internet, because suddenly there'll be nobody watching the show. I won't have any of these things. I like things that is manual and get your hands over. Give me a big knob and I will turn it. Jeff Kellison says they're made out of waste. Oh, these are these things. Michael Angel says it's just another climate change scam. Yes, I know it is. All these things are big scams. It is, the Air Pollutions Act and what have you. Jeff Kellison, screw the craft. We ain't getting any younger Vobes. Oh, but that's the whole thing. If you've got all this craft and reasons to move around is what you need, so that you stay active and fit. Every time, you're going to turn into a big couch potato if all you have to do is go, Alexa, send an ambulance. I'm now just a big blob. Which would be... say, a shame, big shame. David Cuss says, I miss my pipe. There you go, you see, a nice Meerschaum on a nice wet afternoon. What is better than that, with a little bit of cherry brandy flavoured tobacco? Everybody loves a good shag, don't they? Audrey Forbes says, what will happen to the coal merchants who have been in the business for generations? I'm afraid, it's almost as if unless you're an elite in some call centre, you have got no future whatsoever. No doubt they'll all turn up into making YouTube videos for a living and begging off the internet saying, please, please be a patron and give me some money so I can just swan about the countryside talking about England and things like... Yes, well, they might find, that they're good at something else. They might. Who knows? Jade Jones says, good evening. Hello, Jade Jones. Jada Jones. Dave Ford says, good evening. Sorry I'm late. Oh, don't worry. You've just been missing a bit of a rant, actually. Dave Cuss says, I thought the same, Audrey. Mark Donny McLeod says, listening to people wheeze away from smoking, I don't miss it if I can breathe now. My first year completely smoke-free on March the 2nd. Well done to you, sir. It's an evil habit. I mean, at least smoking a pipe, you're only polluting everybody else. You're not actually taking it in. But instead you've got a nice dollop of tongue cancer, which is great, and your teeth sort of. My old boss, his teeth had so worn where he'd clamped the pipe between his teeth for so long that that was it. There was this sort of little gap. When he took it out, there was a hole in between his teeth. It was great. But I have to say, that aside, knowing that it's bad for you, it looks great in the films. I love it. You see these professors with their pipes. It's just so unfair, isn't it? It's just so unfair. It's such a lovely image puffing away. I mean, it's a shame, obviously there's all the tar and the sort of liquidy stuff because you hear them gurgling, these pipes. And then, of course, the evil smoke itself and all of that. But they look great. They look, it's like a man looks intelligent, looks like he's... Just a moment, I'm going to puff my pipe and relax and think about this. We have the Sherlock Holmes, that, the thing and mind you, he was also injecting himself with fairy washing up liquid or something. Andrew Norris says, congratulations. Yeah, congratulations, Mark. Anne Osborne says, well done, Mike. Dave Cuss says, I've been 3 years smoke-free, but do miss the smell of a pipe. Yes, I suppose what you could do is you could probably, if you've got a wood-burning stove or something, you could buy the odd bit of tobacco and just sprinkle it on the top. Or on your gas stove, you could do that, just so you get a little, the pungent whiff of it would be enough. But then that might have you running back to it, you see. Ed Loud says, to be honest, I don't like the sound of any of them routines. Never mind. I like the routine of watching the Vobes. Well, of course, that is... I can imagine you, Ed. Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, I like all this. I can imagine you on the treadmill watching the Vobes. I can imagine you either, running or one on the... What's that one that makes you walk up the stairs doing this? It's a funny old game, isn't it? And then all the cycling thing, doing the wheel spin business. I can imagine, you're there with your six-pack going, yeah, all right, mate, I like the Vobes, I really do. That's how I imagine you, Ed. Sometimes, obviously, it's never good to meet your audience because they will disappoint you. Because, I've got these pictures from all of you in my mental head. You're all absolutely bizarre and balmy. And then when I meet you in real life, you're all perfectly normal and respectable people. It's such a shame. Such a shame. Andy Stacey says, well done, chap. Julia Hartley says, well done, Mark. Andy McDowgleish says, my brother's late mother-in-law used to dust the logs before she put them on the fire. Now, that is a routine that I don't actually do. But, a feather duster... Dry old log, stick it on there. How lovely. What a lovely eccentric lady she does sound. Really nice. Robert Baxter says, hello, sorry I'm a bit late. No worries, Robert. We're just laid back. It's Friday. Kick off your shoes, lay yourself back there and let somebody from the opposite sex massage your stomach. And you'll be all right. You'll be perfectly fine. That's the sort of thing... unfortunately, I don't have anybody like that to do that for me. So, I come in here and try and keep my pecker up, so to speak. Mark Donny McLeod says you can still have a pipe, you just don't have to burn anything in it. It's not the same, though. It's a bubble pipe, blowing bubbles. I'm forever blowing bubbles. It's just not the same. Well done, Dave Cuss. Well done to you, Dave Cuss. J.W. Mr. Harville, he says the old Sherlock Holmes pipes had opium in it. Well, yes, all right, maybe you can't get the opium these days, but they were lovely. Meerschaum, that's that Meerschaum. Now, I've got to remember, because I did know a bit about pipes. Meerschaum is, I think look, my thinking hands are working again. Oh, the brain must be working. A meerschaum is it's like a coral thing, isn't it? Meerschaum, as in a meerschaum pipe. I'm going to have to look that up now very quickly. Hang on, let's have a look, see if we can find meerschaum. Meerschaum pipe. Oh, yes, it's got a weird spelling. Meerschaum pipe for sale on Wikipedia. Here we are. It's made from a mineral sepiotolite. I don't know what that is. Let's see if we can find what sepiopolite. Sepiopolite is... I'm going to copy and paste that. Let's see if we can copy that. Let's see if we can get somebody to tell us what sepiopolite is supposed to... How it's supposed to be pronounced. Let's see if we can do that. Pronunciation. Here we go. Are you ready? Let's see if this works. Go.
Sapiolid.
Pardon? Say that again?
Sapiolid.
Sepiolid. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like a proper word, does it? Maybe somebody else has got it. How to pronounce sepiolid? Come on. We'll get somebody else to do it.
Sepiolite.
Sepia light. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sepia light. I'll be back. I'm smoking my Meerschaum sepia light pipe. Yes, it's good for the muscles. I'll be back. Yeah, all right. Well, we don't need you to be back too soon, thank you. Meerschaum pipe, there we are, is a smoking pipe. The great thing about the Meerschaum pipe is that they start off brand new and they're white from sepiite or whatever it was, sepia light, and they go sepia coloured. They do. As you smoke them, the smoke changes the colour, and it goes from this white colour into a sort of yellowy colour, into a mustardy colour, and it sort of changes over the whole thing. It's a beautiful thing to see. You know, somebody who's got one of these very old ones, and they can go to a bit of a deep mustardy, nice yellow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It can end up looking like an old, like a British beer, with a little froth on the top. True Jew, whoever that is. Oh, True JWH. Sorry about that. Yes, it is. He was also into jacking up, as well as a great role model that he wasn't. I don't think he was supposed to be a role model, was he? I don't think he was Sherlock Holmes. I don't think he was supposed to be one. Les Jarvis says, Richard, your tea. Oh, yes, my tea. Yes, thank you so much for reminding me about my tea. Oh, hang on, we've got the tea cam over here. Let's go to the tea cam. There's the tea cam. A tea cam does what a tea cam can. Da-dum, da-dum, bum, bum. So in today's tea cam, I've got Fruits of the Forest in here. So it should be... I wish I'd got some Meerschaum tea. That would have been nice, you know. Extracts from an old used pipe would have been quite repulsive. By the way, this what I'm wearing tonight, do you like the jacket? Look at that. I don't know how much you can see of that. Let me put it on the webcam and see. There we are. Look, there's a bit of a paisley... There's a bit of a paisley finish to this, and it is actually there. That's a better picture, isn't it? It's actually velvet, ladies and gentlemen. It is a velvet jacket. It looks very swish, isn't it? Very swish. You can't really see it on that camera, sadly, but it's a velvet jacket. I thought I'd show you what I generally wear when I'm not filming. Generally, I'd be sitting by the fire with a nice old book. I've got many old books here. Here we go, look. One at random. This one is the Chiltern Country by H.J. Meerschaum. Oh, beg your pardon. Messingham. He was only messing him about. And let me just tell you something about Maiden's Grove. Maiden's Grove is perhaps the most remote hamlet in the Chilterns, you may not have known that, and stands on the crest of the eastern wall of Bick's Bottom. We've always wanted to see Bick's Bottom, haven't we? But he's never shown it to us, which actually, now that he's got a lot older and more wrinkly, we're actually quite pleased about. The steep slope called the Scrubs is one of the reminders that the Chilterns were once a wild, impenetrable forest land. There you go. I was only reading about the wild, impenetrable forest land about half an hour before the show started. I got this marvellous book called The Open Fields, and it talks about the days of the Neolithic people and the early Anglo-Saxons who had the three-field system, you know? The three-field system where they would have these little plots of land and they would plough them and, and furrow. Plough and furrow. And quite it's quite a big tome. And you think, well, there's not much to know about that. Surely they just ploughed them and then they plough and fallow, isn't it? You plough it one year and it's fallow the next year and you plough it again, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there's a lot to it, basically. There's a lot to it. You probably got bored now. Mark Johnny McLeod says, I have a pal giving up fags, that's cigarettes to everybody else, who has one of those nasty devices and puffs it like an old train. He gets flavour such as apple pie and custard. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You see these people with those vapes, and it's curious because some people will puff them barely anything. And then other people are exactly that. They think that they are on the Blue Bell line or something. And he goes everywhere. You think there's suddenly been some weird gas leak or something, and half of the underground sewer system has broken free. And any minute now, you imagine a swarm of rats coming out going, oh, no. However, rats do that. Let me have a slurp of tea and just pause for a moment. Jada Jones says that mugwort is good for dreams. Now, when you say it's good for dreams, do you mean that it's good for preventing them, or is it good for having them? And what kind of dreams can you have? Can you have saucy dreams? Can you have action dreams? Can you have, hey, laid-back dreams, man? What kind of dreams do you get, Jada Jones? We now want to know. I also, says Andrew Norris, I've also found fragments of medieval tiles. Have you? I'm just looking there to see. Oh, I used to find hundreds of clay pipes mudlarking on the Thames. I've never seen a clay pipe mudlark on the Thames, but I imagine that they must have done that, mustn't they? You could imagine them, little clay pipes, gambling, frolicking on their mudlarking, in fact. Oh, I think you mean you were mudlarking, and it was while you were mudlarking you found the pipe. I've got it. Je comprends pas. Whatever that means. And also bits of old tile. Well, probably Roman tiles. Probably some Roman is walking around in his toga at the party, because they all went to a party, having put his keys into a bowl and, picked up somebody else to go home with. And he's going, wait a minute, these are all my tiles. What are you doing with them, Mr. Norris? Yes. Andrew Frierson says, I was going to say, you look dapper tonight, Richard. Thank you. And you were going to say it, but obviously you thought I wasn't looking dapper. I just put my scruffs on today. This is the sort of stuff I would go out and chop the wood and clean out the coal bunker. You should see me when I'm in my top, tail and tucker. Oh, I look like very pucker. Jada Jones says, lovely. Is it vintage? Oh, what, the jacket? No, actually, if I was to tell you that I bought this from a trendy shop in the high street about 12 years ago, I suppose it is vintage then, because 12 years is a long time when you get to a certain age and you wish that you were 12 years younger. You could have made other decisions in your life. Ernie Summit says, I like the lining, Richard. It's very smart this evening. Thank you very much. I do like to occasionally, make a bit of an effort, because I'm sure you're all sitting there, in your dinner jackets. I'm sure you're absolutely presentable, and that if I was able to turn the camera around on you, I'm sure that I would see you all, the ladies in their cocktail dresses and the gents in their dinner jackets and bow ties, looking very, very refined and respectable. Especially Ed Loud. I can imagine Ed Loud on the turntable. No, not on the turntable. On the treadmill, running in his dinner jacket, going, yeah, man, I really like this. I like this show. God, oh yeah, old Vobesy, go Vobesy, and not a speck of sweat coming off him. That's how I imagine him. Where in Sussex says, hope the wind drops, Dave. I've just done a run along Bexhill seafront, had trouble taking a breath running into the wind. You would think that actually if you're running into the wind, you'd have no trouble breathing, because it would be going straight down the old lungs. I think what you have to do is open your mouth, Steve. You have to open your mouth, like that, and the wind will you'll fill up a bit like a balloon maybe, and away you go. So just be careful of doing that. Jada Jones says, I love books. Yes, I love. I've got one or two of them. They're great fun. A game I play with myself is not broadcastable. But another thing that I do is I like to pick up a book at random sometimes. You know, if I'm waiting, if I've got 5 minutes and I know someone's coming to the door, or I'm being picked up and escorted to the local prison or whatever it might be, I often pick up a book off the shelf and just open it at random and read a couple of paragraphs, which is why my knowledge is clearly lacking. If only I started at the beginning and worked my way to the end, it would be a lot better. But sometimes it's quite fun because it can be quite absorbing. Can't it? You just open it up and then all of a sudden you're into it. It says, but that is not all. Oh, what's not all? Behind the successive cultures, prehistory, Romano-Celtic, Saxon, medieval, Georgian, and the anarchic pseudo-culture of today. Oh, I like that. The anarchic pseudo-culture of today. I've got to remember that just that line. Look at this anarchic pseudo-culture of today. I might use that in the Bald Explorer, and I'm seeking out on my quest for England. Yes, I'm looking deep into the myths of time to find what is England, not this pseudo-culture. What did he say? The pseudo-culture of... I've lost it. Now I can't find it. The pseudo-culture of whatever nonsense it is. That, you see? Perfect sentence. Perfect example of a lovely sentence. Can't remember it. It's gone. What a swine. Jada Jones says that the evil weed that you were talking about, what was it? Mudsgrove or something, promotes dreams. Does it? Where does it promote them? In the papers? Down on the end of the pier? Where does it promote them? That's what I would like to... Oh, on the internet. Probably you get a little flash. Do you come up on Facebook suddenly? The dream tonight at 9:35 in your bed. Be there or don't take Mudgrove. Something like that. Julia says, I believe you said I do not understand in French. Take away the pas and that would be what you meant. Je suis un chien. Pas. No, I didn't say that, did I? J'adore the law. J'adore the law is an ass. J'accuse. Who did that? Who wrote that? J'accuse. I accuse. Can't remember what that was about. Somebody, probably some defendant, no, prosecutor, I would imagine. Hang on, I'm going to have another slurp of this. Don't do that, Richard. I'm in the bath. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not quite sure what it was I did, but I apologise profuse. What are you doing watching the Vobes in the bath? Can you imagine that? If you have a moment of, I don't know what, and your whatever it is you're watching slips from your fingers as you've got your phone, presumably, in one hand like this, watching the screen, and you're rubbing under, all the various, lifting up the folds of skin and all of that to get the old loofah in, Andrew. And throwing a moob over one shoulder like, oh, hang on, it's floated off, with your toe in the plug hole, because no doubt, in Croatia, I imagine, it's quite a poor country, isn't it? Do they have plugs? Do they have plugs in there? Do you still have to use your big toe like that? So anything could happen if you slipped and the screen slips in there, 642,000 volts. Your hat will ping off and your hair will frizz up. We can't have that, Andrew, because we need our fix every Wednesday now of the Andrew Norris moment. So please don't let that happen to you. Ed Loud says, treadmill, fat chance. It's a myth. He is an Adonis. I can imagine. Ed Loud, he probably parades around the gym in his Speedos, and the girls are all swooning at his, what do you call a six-pack? A six-pack, that's what you call it. I knew it was a name like that. So that could be good. Mark Dory says, I always thought John Watson, MD, got a bit of a bad rub from the same film director, especially those in the Basil Rathbones. To be an MD, he would have been a man of learning. Yes, that's true. What was the actor's name who played opposite? I used to know him. Who played Dr. Watson. He was Bruce, Nigel Bruce. Was it Nigel Bruce? That was the name of him.
Oh, yes, Holmes. Yes, Holmes. I'm as thick as a plank. I really am, Holmes. Goodness, how did you come to that definition, Holmes? Oh, yes, yes.
Well, it's very simple. I wish I could have. If I had a wig and what have you, I'd love to have played Sherlock Holmes. Not like the modern version. I would have done it like that with the old pipe puffing away. That would have been great. You don't do that. Fat chance. Jada Jones says some artists get their best dreams when in a dream state, then write them down. It's kind of cheating. Is that not cheating? If you resort to drugs and you get all your good ideas from that, is that not cheating when it comes to art? Surely, the creative process comes from you, not some sort of. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't it? Where in Sussex says I have to keep my mouth shut for fear of upsetting the Vobes every time I open it. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more. Could be taken on holiday. Well, that is true. That is true. Steve, he's on a diplomatic course at the moment, and so I'm having to give him the space now. Jada Jones says Thriller was written by Rod Temperman, who got the idea in a dream. What is Thriller? Is that a film? A Thriller, or is that? Are you talking about the Michael Jackson thing? I am not a dog, says Where in Sussex. Oh, sorry about that. You will never run out of fuel for the wood burner. You have books, burning books. We live in that kind of world now. That is very true, actually, Michael. Well said, but I would never burn my books. I love books too, says J.W. Harville. He says, my prize book is the first edition To Kill a Mockingbird. A better book than a movie. I've read the To Kill a Mockingbird. I've also read To Squash an Owl. That's not. That was the sequel, or I know it's the prequel. I think that was some of her earlier work, actually. To Squash an Owl and To Kick a Sparrow. They were not so noticeable books, but To Punch a Robin on the Nose was that. I think that she did that in kindergarten. Anyway, Camus, says Andrew Norris, apropos of. I don't know what Camus means. Don't turn your camera around. Don't turn your camera around. Okay. Mickey Stevens says Abel Glance directed. Oh, Abel. Is that his name? Abel. It's a good name, isn't it? Abel Glance. That can't be his real name. Surely that sounds like the most made up name, because you couldn't really. I could never have that name with one eye and short sighted. I would certainly not be able to give anybody an Abel Glance. But Julia says, LOL, Andrew. I don't know what he means. I obviously missed the joke there. David Keel. Hello, David Keel. He says, the anarchic pseudo-culture of today. Thank you very much. He's going to write that down. The anarchic, there we go. The anarchic pseudo-culture of today. I must get that into a Bald Explorer video with a straight face and just put it in. And you guys, if you see it, will go, I know where that's come from. And I've got to write that down. Lovely Julia, could you write that down? Could you copy and paste that and send it to me on an email or a WhatsApp, lovely Julia? Copy and paste that. The anarchic pseudo-culture of today. Because I will forget. You know what I'm like. She's lovely, is the lovely Julia. I can just, click my fingers like that and she'll completely ignore me. Robert Baxter says, I used to watch YouTube on my phone in the bath, but the condensation eventually knackered it. Ah, there you go, you see. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, mate. Robert Croser says, community clown look tonight. What have you got on then, Robert? Have you got big feet? Have you got one of those revolving... You want to dress up a bit more sensible like me. But, you can dress however you like. Jada Jones says there'll always be an England. Let's hope so. Let's hope they never get shot of it. I think people are actually becoming more switched on about all this. They're beginning to see through all this nonsense that we've been spoon-fed over the years, all this rubbish. I think more and more people are questioning things about climate change. They are questioning things about all sorts of immigration. It's all good, exciting news, isn't it? The EU, my goodness, they're floundering around at the moment. They're panicking now, aren't they? They're panicking because everybody's got to chip in now that Britain isn't going to pay them the 60 million or whatever it is. They're all going, right, all right. And they went to Ireland, didn't they, the other day? And they said, here, I'm afraid to say, you, Paddy, you're going to pay more. And they're going, well, actually, we ain't going to pay more. So I think you'll find the EU is crumbling. It'll be one of those things. It'll be a good job we got out when we did, just as it was a good job we never went into the Euro. Oh, we're so lucky to have a queen. We're so lucky. Andy Delgley says, looking very dapper, Richard. Did you know the Chap magazine? Never heard of it, the Chap magazine. Sounds my sort of thing. All about cravats, umbrellas, jousting, moustache, waxing, and the G&T steeplechase. Yes, well, I don't know what the gin and tonic, I suppose. Does sound rather jolly, doesn't it? That'd be interesting. Ed Loud says, I've never even go to the gym. What do you mean you never? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. It's just genetics with you, isn't it? That six-pack and those pecs and the triceps and the biceps and the buy one, put one back. Yes, I'm sure it is. He says, I never go to the gym. Grandad kept me reasonably fit, though, pushing his wheelchair on all their mental health walks and that marathon. Did you do the marathon in a wheelchair? Wow. Mark Donny McLeod. Yeah, Nigel Bruce. There we go. Good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, Holmes.
That's not a very good impression of him, to be honest. Croser has arrived. Yes, Croser has. Mark Donny McLeod says, how do, Robert? Jeff Kellenson says, I bet it hurts to get bit by electricity there. I get bit all the time working on stuff, but it's only 120 volts. Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, the Vobes went to America. And the people listening to the podcast that I was doing at the time used to know I was a typical Englishman and liked my tea. But these were typical Americans and they had coffee. But as typical Englishmen, as typical Americans, they wanted to appease the typical Englishmen. So they typically went out and bought a kettle. They'd never bought a kettle before and they'd never used it. And then the typical Englishman turns up. This is a true story, by the way, without all the typicals. And they said, we bought this kettle so that we can boil up tea. I said, well, how do you normally boil up water then for drinks? He said, well, we generally, if we need to boil it up, we boil it up in a pan. And I said, oh, that's a bit odd. Don't you use a kettle? And he said, get off your horse and drink your milk. And he said, no, we don't. Anyway, he said, but we'll make you a cup of tea in honour of your visit. I said, oh, that's very kind. So we're sitting around the dining room table late at night, and out comes the kettle, and we look at the kettle, and he says, yeah, we bought it, and it's all nice, and we're going to... And he plugged it in, and he filled it up with water, and he plugged it in, and we're sitting there around the dining table, and he turns it on, and all the lights in that room dimmed. Visibly dimmed when he turned the kettle on because they were on 120 volts or 110 volts, whatever it was. And we were sitting there and it all went... And then when the kettle came to eventually boiled and it clicked off, the lights went back up again. It was like a spooky seance, as if there was somebody in the room. Is there anybody there? And the kettle said, yeah, I boiled. That's a true story. So, yeah, despite the storm, Mr. Polfold I am, says Robert Croser. I thought you were imitating Fiona Bruce. Oh, yes, Fiona Bruce. She's a funny old woman, isn't she? Meditating is not drugs, says Jada Jones. Still banging on about the meditating. No one said about meditating. It's the taking of the drugs that that affects the mind. That's my mind's already well and truly affected. The drugs probably wouldn't actually make much difference in the way I see things. To be fair, but if you're welcome to pop round and fill up whatever it is that you do with drugs, and we'll sit there and we'll puff them together, and we'll see who has the craziest dreams. Robert Croser says, "How do Donny?" Also, hello, Kevin. We're in Sussex. We've reached the point where some of the comments are so behind, poor Richard thinks we've all gone start raving bonkers. Do you know, I've been thinking that you've all gone start raving bonkers anyway. Actually, I'm only about 10 or 12 comments behind, to be fair. Let's go. Let's see if I can catch up then. Aren't we all bonkers? Yes. The EU asked Ireland and the Welsh, and they replied an English one. What does that mean? The EU asked Ireland in a Welsh accent and they replied in an English one. There we go. Herbs, says Jada Jones. Herbs, as in the herb garden. Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, but are you not smoking the herbs? Are you? You're injecting them? Are you, or you're just chewing on them? There is a tie. The tie is a Croatian invention. Cravat. cravat is Croat in Croatia. Is it? Good. How many crows were hurt in the process of making a Croatian cravat? Yes. Mark Dunny McLeod says, yes, I use a lot of herbs. To grow those, I am able to. I go collecting fungus, herbs, and such when I can. Good for you. We need to go on a fungus hunt and know which ones that we can eat and which ones we can't. An infected mind, says Robert Croser. Cool, says Jada Jones. Do a live séance. Do a live séance. Well, I'm not going to do a dead séance, am I? That would be daft. I mean, you know, that would be like preaching to the converted. Is there anybody there? Just a load of corpses. Imagine, I mean, you'd probably have a lot more. Nobody would have a grin on their face or muck about if you filled it up with corpses. You've got a whole load of corpses and they all put their hands together and, you know, stood. What I used to like, you don't see it so much these days. Have you ever noticed that? You don't hear much about it. Ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, I thought was it's got to be the most spiritualistic, you know, bit of ectoplasm coming out of your gob. It's always good on a Saturday afternoon, isn't it? You know, it's like you could have been out the night before, Friday night, you're throwing up into a bucket of something. Much better if you've been to too many seances and you're, oh God, I feel a bit, blah, and all this ectoplasm comes out. Where does it go? Does it disappear? Does it mould, or is it just permanently like cotton wool? It's all nice to have a bit of ectoplasm. And where would you go to buy a bit of ectoplasm? That's what I'd like to know. If anyone can let me know, send it on a postcard from the other side. Andy Stacey says, I'll come round and smoke a bifter with you. I have no idea what a bifter is. What drugs? LOL, says Jada Jones. Julia says that's no to a séance. We're not doing a séance. Magic mushroom tea. Oh, magic mushroom tea. Who's to say that this pink slurpy stuff, which actually is former makeup from the pink aliens I used to do as Snug and Cozy, who's to say that this isn't actually magic mushroom stuff? You know, the problem with all of this is it's down to the anarchy of that pseudo-modern... Oh, you see, I've forgotten it now. I've forgotten the phrase. I hope the lovely Julia has copied and pasted it and emailed it to me. That would have been much good. Dave Ford, here we go. Dave Ford says, OK, Richard, please enlighten us. What has the lovely Fiona Bruce done to upset you? Well, she is the host of the BBC's Question Time, isn't it? And, you know, like all BBC hosts, she is as biased as the rest. And I think you have to agree with that. Because you don't have to agree with that. I'm not telling you how to think at all. Jada Jones says, ha, you're off your box. Michael Angel, said Michael Angel's mushroom tea. What a crank. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. But I'm sure that is a compliment. Andrew Norris says, chap is a nice... Yeah, chap. It's nice to be a chap. I can't remember. We saw chap earlier in the thing, and I can't remember what it was referring to. It sounds like something that, you know, you get done to your... when you get chapped knees, don't you? Chapped lips. Chapped lips. That's what you get. Chapped lips. If you kiss too many chaps, you get chapped lips. Robert Baxter says, my mate has some absinthe with witch hazel in it. Absinthe. I can't remember if that is a paint stripper or what it is. Absinthe. What is absinthe? Is it actually in the bottle when you buy it, or is it absent? Julia says that would be yes. He's drinking paint thinner again. Oh yes, talking of that, I better have another slurp of it. Can you hear that? The funny thing is, how's your bladder now, Doctor? Mike Angel says the British Bullshit Corporation. Yes, there we go. And Ed Loud, speaking of Snug and Cozy, oh yeah, I saw the opening credits to that the other day and it all came back to me. Suddenly remembered watching it on Channel 3. Yes, on ITV. That's right, you would have done. Blimey. How amazing. Yeah, well, that was myself and my mate, Nigel Cooper. Cozy, you slimping slam slapping dopey pole. Yes. Bum 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 bum. That was the theme tune, ladies and gentlemen. I know, stirring. Wasn't that stirring? Very, very stirring. Like a nice mug of tea. Stirring stuff. Almost as stirring as... We can't have too much of that because probably we'll get the whole thing. We'll say, oh, that's licensed music. You're not allowed to use it. But hopefully it's so old. Good old Ron Goodwin. Hopefully Ron Goodwin is probably dead now anyway. Hopefully he won't come back and say, "Here, what are you up to?" Jade Harville says BBC America tells us what we should think. I think they all do. ITV 4:15 the show was on, says Robert Crowe. So you just looked up an old version of the Radio Times or something. Actually, it was on at 4:10. It was on at 4:10 on ITV, and we would get on children's ITV. And there used to be, that was the time when they had that sort of mad professor as the continuity man. Go, next on ITV, we've got those planet-sized aliens, snug and cosy. And you never actually saw him. I think it was an animation type thing, as I remember it. But yeah, 4:10 in the afternoon it went on, and I think. We did go on at 4 o'clock. Season 1 went on at 4 o'clock, and Season 2 went on at 4:10. Season 1 was on a Tuesday. Season 2 was on a Thursday. And then we were halfway through Season 2, and then guess what happened? Diana died. Suddenly, for, like 2 weeks... The news, wall to wall, Diana's died, very sad and everything. But there was us going, oh, that's charming, that is. That's charming. Our career is on the edge here. You go and, a royalty is accidentally, horrific, terrible. I'm not saying anything about it, but it was terrible of that. But what was worse was our careers were on the line, because all of a sudden that was it. Nobody wanted to talk about space aliens landing and going, Cozy, you slimping slam slabbert, you, I love you, Cozy, don't do it. It was a bit of a shame. So we suddenly were flipped to a different day halfway through Series 2. Anyway, that's a bit of a thing. Andrew Murphy says, me and my mum says, hello, Richard. Hello, Mum. How you doing? Are you doing well? How's the old rheumatoid-itis? Is it bad? Andrew will make you a nice cup of tea. Cheers, old chap. And you can have a nice bourbon biscuit to go with it. That'll be nice, won't it? So there we go. And Mark Donny MacLeod says, absence as drunk by the poet Artie, set around 1890. It was called The Green Fairy by many, and it was served by some with opium on a sugar cube. It's not the stuff that used to, like a Mickey Finn. Wasn't that sort of thing, was it? A little bit of absence here. And away you went, 24 hours later, it's like, whew. Good old Mickey Finns. Anybody had a Mickey Finn recently? Dave Ford says, Ron Goodwin died in 2003, so you're safe. Oh, thank goodness for that. Oh, that's all right. There we go. But there may be members of his estate that will be, on me like a ton of bricks, going, bandits at 6 o'clock. So we just got to be a bit careful. I love that track, though. It's the Battle of Britain, of course, from the film Ron Goodwin. And what else have we got on here? Ed Loud says, used to be on with Rosie and Jim, the Hurricanes, Zap and all that. Oh, yeah, they were the days. Yeah, Zap. Do you remember Zap? With the, that was it. And Cuthbert Lilly, He's Dead Silly. We met all of those. We met that team, Nigel and I. Oh, I met Cuthbert Lilly anyway. funny. It's funny. They seem to be off camera the least funniest people I'd ever met. But the Hurricanes, that was a cartoon. Rosie and Jim, yes, that was on the boats, wasn't it? A royal dialed and killed your royalties. Very good, Steve Pilfold. It killed Series 3, I can tell you. One of the, well, actually, it was a political thing which I won't go into. Andy Delgas says absinthe is green fairy juice made from wormwood. Used to be banned in the UK. It should still be. 70% alcohol by volume. How else would it be if it's not by volume? Gives terrible hangovers. Well, you need some of that mugwort that Jada Jones was smoking only a few minutes ago. That's what you need to get to you could turn your headaches into promoting dreams. Get your dreams here, lovely dreams, all sorts of dreams. Get your mugwort here, lovely coloured mugwort. We've got yellow mugwort, green mugwort, red magwort. We've got Miggly mugwort, boggly mugwort that's been in a small tin and left to rot for 5 days, which will really give you a sort of vision of something incredible. And better than that, we've got fish and chips in newspaper. What would you like, madam? Come on, roll up. No, I won't only just give you those. I'll give you all my fags and the keys to my Mercedes. How about that? Not only will I give you the keys to my Mercedes and all my fags and everything else like that, you can have my big mansion in the south of France. Also, you can have a lovely bell tower in Croatia. Yes, including a free thing that goes every noon. It's entirely up to you. Sorry, I don't know what I'm drinking in here. This is all a bit bonkers. So, where are we? Pilfold, Mr. Pilfold, says, I feel less guilty about not knowing about it, as I was only 18. I'm more of a Simon the Witch and Johnny Trombone Briggs generation. I'm afraid those, woomph, straight over my head, no idea, never heard of. You see, I remember Tom's Midnight Gardens. Do you remember Tom's Midnight Gardens? A certain generation will remember Tom's Midnight Garden. That was a great little series. And what about Time Slip? Certain generation will remember Time Slip, and of course, he says, forgetting the blooming name of it, the ever famous. Well, they jaunted. What was that thing where they jaunted? No, they didn't have jaundice. They jaunted. It's 9 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen. The Tomorrow People. The Tomorrow People. Wasn't that amazing? The Tomorrow People. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh, we're back to the beginning. There we go. The Lizard Family. Never heard of those. Abscess can make you blind. I'm not surprised. Put a few drops in your eyes. You'll soon know about it. Andrew Norris says, nighty-night. Gotta go. Bath getting cold, having a great weekend. Thank you very much. Don't forget to join us on Monday and on Wednesday because the Andrew Norris moment will be a scream. But there we are. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Friday begins now. Enjoy yourself. You are all released. Yes, you have 2 days of absolute fervent jollity. Make sure you get some of that mugwort stuff and have a good old promotion of dreams and a little bit of the abstinence, which always makes the heart go fonder. This has been the Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi signing off with a little bit of Battle of Britain, and I will see you tomorrow. No, I won't. I'll see you, well, it might if you watch one of my videos, of course. I'll see you on the Monday for the Vobe show then. Until then, take care, one and all. Lovely to see you. Goodbye! I wish there was a fade out on this. Wait. Hang on. See if this works. Tutty boy!